All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Spartan Canada podcast. I am here today with Connor Bell again, and we are back to discuss some of the series this year. There's been quite a change in Spartan, quite a change in the competitive heats, quite a change in how you have to get into the different heats. And Connor, since he's done so many of them and was planning on becoming an elite racer, this year, we thought, let's bring Connor on because he seems to know a lot about that stuff. So welcome, Connor. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I guess I mean, it kind of worked out in my favor. I was going to go elite this year, as we already kind of like alliterated to at one point. So when the whole competitive heat came up type of thing, I was like, all right, well, this kind of, it changes a lot, but at the same time, it didn't change much because I was going to race at this kind of level anyways too. But I'm doing well. Thanks. How are you doing, Jill?
Great. And I think that's kind of exciting for like there are a few athletes just like you who are kind of on that little fringe of do I want to go to elite or do I want to do age group? And I feel like the way we have our competitive heat now, it's going to change that and make it a lot easier for everybody. So let's get right into that. What is the big change that Spartan announced with competitive racing?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people are very curious about this. So with how much information we've been given to is how much I can kind of like debrief this whole situation. So let me just kind of split it into what we used to have and what we have now. And without giving you the most long-winded answer ever, I'm going to see how much I can cut this thing down. So previously, obviously, we had three different things. You can go into a open heat, which is more of a for fun slash maybe it's your first time trying. You just want to trial and error your Spartan skills, or the other two, which are competitive in the age group and elite. Age group being you're racing against people who are in your age group and you're looking to get a podium in your age group, and elite looking that they take the best almost of the age groups and they're putting them all into one category together to race for a first, second, or third, or just top of your elite in your respective male or female categories. Well, now we've kind of just split down the middle where age group and elite are on one side and open are on the other side as well too. So we have this competitive category now, or we have more of an open category for fun, right? So looking at the competitive one, because the open is a little bit more self-explanatory. With the competitive, you have everything kind of built into pace groups now. So when you sign up for a Spartan race, you go in and you basically have a choice of a pace group, and it gives you an outline based on how fast. I think it's that you run a 5K or your expected placing based maybe on previous races. And you probably have a good idea of like where you're maybe gonna place. Now, when you pick your pace group, obviously it doesn't really matter which one you pick, to be honest. It just matters if you want to be pushed against people who are faster or people who are maybe a little bit slower where they started off. And to each its own, because your start time is when you cross the start and when you end in the finish. So, for instance, if there's 4 pace groups for that event at Toronto Brimacombe, someone who's in the 4th pace group at the ones behind second, third, and first could be faster than the first, so they could still get a podium. Now, let me explain the podiums there for a quick second, because that's where you get a lot of questions. People go, okay, so let me figure this whole thing out of how I can get an age group podium if I'm going against the elites. So, or you're in the competitive age group. So, altogether, the 3 fastest males and the 3 fastest females in the competitive age category will finish first, second, and third elite. Everyone else then under that will finish in their respective age group categories based on their timing. So if you were the 4th person of a male and you were in age category 25 to 29, well, look at you. You just got the gold for 25 to 29. So everything just basically gets then reordered below that. And I really I enjoy the entire thing, because the one thing I like about it the most is that in Canada, especially, and you even see in the States, we got very used to only seeing, and even the female division, only
Mhm.
like 6, 7, 8, 10 people there all together at the beginning of one grouping. And you're also seeing these people who are an age group that are very, very good, that
Yeah.
could probably race the lead as well too, that might be a little bit scared because maybe they don't see themselves at that level when maybe they are at that level. So now you're going to get them all together. You're going to be able to push each other. And the biggest thing at the end of the day is what I'm seeing. It's going to be more energetic. I think it's going to be more you're going to see people that might have leveled down a little bit. You're going to see them being pushed a little more against more competition as well too. And at the end of the day, more fitness. And that's what I like about it. You're going to see more competition, more fitness, more fun.
Yeah. Now, would you recommend everyone to go and do the competitive heats then?
So what do you mean for everybody that like
So, if I'm an open racer and I kind of want to look at the competitive, but I'm not sure, is it kind of something that's out of my league now because there's going to be elites, or how do you feel this is going to go for people wanting to just jump into competitive?
For sure. For my biggest thing is like if anyone is ever hesitant about joining a Spartan race because they've never done it before, then yeah, go open for sure. Unless like
Mhm.
you have like family members or friends. But if you're screwing around a little bit with opens and you're thinking to yourself, oh, competitive is gonna be too much for me, it's definitely not. If anything, what you're gonna do is you're gonna get just like more of an atmosphere, I think, of like energy. And if you've already been a Spartan racer for enough time and you've done a few open heats, then going into competitive isn't gonna be anything different. If anything, you're just gonna get
Mhm.
a good push, which is probably just going to push your fitness a little bit more and your running abilities, and maybe just give you more goals to set yourself for too. So, yeah, try it out. Oh my goodness, I think it'd be more hype.
Yeah, and I find that too. So I'm always telling people if you want to do that, even before the changes, I was always saying, just come and do it. It doesn't matter. Like, what's neat about it is usually a smaller group of racers, and it's usually the same people weekend after weekend. So you do get to know people as you're going. One thing though that's changing that I see, I think it'll be great for the elite athletes, especially. Sorry, the faster age group athletes. The elite already had their own, they were already first, but then they would put the youngest with the oldest in the next heat. Then they would go,
Mhm.
I think my category was next, which is 45 to 49. And
Yeah.
then I think it was 30. Then it was the youngest category, which I'm assuming they're assuming are the fastest. And usually the bulk of the fastest racers are between 30 and 45. And so we would always see myself as a racer, I would always see some of the younger guys like Connor and even Jonathan Bouchard and a few other
Yeah.
people that always pass me with a high five. So now I'm going to have to race in your heat so that I can just try and trail you or something like that.
I love it. I love
Now
it. It's
there's also a pro band too. So when you're checking out at Spartan, you pick your heat, like Connor was saying, but there's also a pro band. So that's for the elite of the elite. And from what I was seeing, basically that's the top three racers. If you earn a top three spot in 2024, and if you did in 2023, you will get an armband, which is kind of cool, and you wear it to the start line and you will get placed in the first heat. But like you were saying, especially for females, there's sometimes only 6 or 7 in that group. So I think we might see some of the faster group going into that group. So I think that'll be great on both sides of that. It'll be great for the people coming up, and it's going to be amazing for the ladies and for the men running in elite because you guys have always wanted more competition, right? So,
Yeah, and I think like it's each venue's different too, right? Like obviously you get like
mhm.
when you go to Red Deer, it's like a whole different game from the people that you see in Toronto. Toronto's pretty close to Blue Mountain people, but then it's like Kelowna's. I've never even been there, so I'm excited to go this year. But there's a whole
Mm,
different vast array of people, right? So when you get sparse different locations too, like I'll use Red Deer as an example. Don't think there's too many people. Even Brimacombe, when it comes to elite, there wasn't a crazy big amount of people too. Maybe even Ottawa as well, but now that what you're just going to see is you're going to see a cluster of people and you're going to get, like you were saying, even more familiarized with the people who are going to be on your start line. And
mhm.
I mean, the pro band thing is cool too, because one thing I was looking up though too was when you get your band, make sure you don't lose it as well too,
Yeah.
because it's your responsibility to have it, which will get you the start of a or the front of the first wave there. But if you lose it, you're gonna have to fight to get that thing back. However, if it gets damaged, they did say that you can go to the front desk, and as long as you can justify how it got damaged on course, you can maybe get a new one. But I didn't. You didn't hear it from me. You heard it on Zenco somewhere
And
there
make
too. But
make that a good reason too.
yeah,
Make it sound good.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I was going to the barbed wire crawl and like I was going so fast I just ripped off, which actually I could maybe even see happening. That could be a thing that you
True.
could. I gotta know how these things are made. I gotta know the type of material that they're made
Yeah.
from, right? Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this though. I wonder if this is, and maybe you have an idea, if you think this will bring more competitive racing to Canada, or how do you feel about that, like in that way?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, I do believe that I believe that here's let's call spade a spade for a second. Let's put it right down. So I do believe that you're getting a lot of comments back in general just about people saying like, oh my gosh, like how am I ever going to get an age group podium now. The fact that like all these people that were elite that were getting like fifth, sixth, and seventh, and eighth in elite that weren't getting their podiums are now going to just steal the age group podiums. And I really flipped the whole script on it. And now what I say that if it were me and I was in that position where I was always getting like fourth, fifth, sixth in an age group type of thing, and at one point I was hands
Mhm.
down, it was just how it went. But I was always pushed because I wanted to get higher and higher because I really wanted to get on the podium at one point. You're now flipping the script even a little bit more, where if this was the position that I was already in, it would push me harder to want to get onto that age group if that was the goal, knowing that there's a bunch of you can't call them elites anymore because you're trying to get up to the elite stats as well too. Everyone's just trying to better themselves. So to answer your
Mhm.
question, I think this is going to continuously push the sport of OCR, and Savage Race has already done this.
Yeah.
This is how I think a lot of sports are now, or we'll say outdoor competitive racing is kind of going to,
Mhm.
or obstacle competitive racing or obstacle course racing in general. I think that's what OCR stands for. I screwed it up a few times, but I think it's going to push the barriers for everybody in the sport to up their ante, which is good. We look for that. There's two ways people can take it. Some people get kind of scared and shy away. I think it's the best to just embrace the different challenges that you get from it, and everyone's going to be pushing forward, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, and I'm a stats person. I know you are too. So I'm always after a race, I'm like, I'll take my time, I'll put it up against the elites, I'll put it up against the opens. And sometimes there's people in open that are faster times than even elite racers. So like let's get everybody out to that competitive start line. If you've raced a Spartan before, even in open, and you found yourself at the top of that pile when you went and checked, come into competitive. Let's make this a big thing this year.
Yes.
I think it's fantastic. It's totally normal if you were to run like any of the marathons, any of the ultras I've done. It's been like that. You don't sign up for elite or, and it makes sense from a business standpoint because that's a lot of paperwork. One, and number two, if you've only got
Mhm.
6 people in a heat, we could be bringing more open racers in on the back end and not
Absolutely.
taking up those spots. So,
And it's like if you want to be the best, you want to beat the best, and that's
mhm,
just kind of how it should be too, right? Like if I'm gonna get beaten, like like if I'm gonna train the last like 8 months over and over again to get ready for a race, like I want to go out there against like some tough competitors. I want to earn that win at the same time, right?
mhm,
It's one of the things that I now look for, and it's you know what, it's been more than anything, Jill. It's been my years of now slowly increasing the ante each and every year for myself, and like setting a goal and achieving, setting a goal and achieving. And I was having a good talk about with Kevin Gregory. Me and him were on a call the other day, and we were talking about the flip between age group up to elite before, and it's like you kind of hit a certain plateau, and one
yeah.
your mind says I kind of want to keep hitting those goals of getting those age group podiums, but then like you said, a stats person, I was comparing to the elites, and I was like, I could be like a
I'm
mid
there.
pack, but
Yeah.
like I should be doing that because it's going to push me anyways, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. It's going to be a whole different game, and people don't like change, but change at the end of the day, it's going to be good, I think,
Yeah,
for this.
trust me, I'm not a I don't love change. I usually say no, this is going to be terrible, and then I think about it for a few minutes, and then I'm usually on board with whatever it is because I'm pretty chill that way. But this one, I right away I was like, oh, that makes total sense because especially looking at it from the Canadian side and the Canadian women. I mean, if there's 10 women in elite, we're lucky. So,
For
and
sure.
then I also sometimes toyed with the idea because my numbers were always after checking stats would be somewhere between like in the top 10, maybe just
Yeah,
outside of that. And I was always like, should I do it? But now I guess the choice has been made. So I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
for us, it's good.
The
But
choice has been made for you.
I
Yeah.
think it's going to elevate the whole thing. So now you've raced in competitive and you have won your top three. You got a really awesome Delta. You got your armband. What else have you qualified for now? Because there's more.
Yeah. So with the way that Canada's, or I guess Spartan has set it up now, so well, you are referring to our next regional championship, right? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So just making sure. So
Surprise.
um let's take one little step back though, just for a second. So in
Sure.
Canada,
Sorry.
it's all right, don't we have our Canada National Series. I'll see if we can
Yep.
like we can transcend this correctly. So we have a Canada National Series, right? And we've had a lot of them. We actually have money on the line for this one, which is sweet that Spartan's doing that. It's awesome. I forget what the
Hmm.
are, but it's really cool. So we have basically our pro championship heat, and we have our age group championship heat. So age groupers that are watching right now, or people who are, I shouldn't say age group, competitive people who are going for age group podium still, don't think that you've been left behind, because you haven't. There's still an age
Mhm,
group series. So there's 3 races in Canada. We
mhm,
have the race number 1, which actually starts with a 10K. It's in Mont Tremblant. So it'll be a 10K Mont Tremblant in June sometime.
mhm,
July will be the 5K Red Deer, which is race number 2. And then in August or September, I think it's August, you have the 21K in Kelowna. So you have the 3 races. You're going to take points for all these races. If you finish in the top 20, there's two ways that this is working. Okay, so there's a pro championship heat for all 3 of these races, and then the rest are just bulked into age group, and you have to qualify for the pro championship heat by either having a top 15 elite race in 2023, or a top 3 in 2023, which would be a top 15, or a top 3 in 2024, which would
mhm,
qualify you to be in the pro championship heat, and everyone else is then pushed down to the age group heats. It's only those 3 races that there is a pro championship heat. Other than that, all other venues are just regular pace group heats. Anyways, so you're gonna have a point
mhm.
system based on, and the point system, if you finish first, you get like 21 points. If you finish second, I actually have it up in front of me.
Yeah,
If
that's
you,
changed a bit too, because last year it would go by points and then also how close you were to the person in front of
yeah,
you. But that's a
yeah,
big, and when you're a stats person, it's kind of fun to figure that out. But when you're not, that's very difficult. And especially
sure.
when it's the difference between a 5K and a 21. So if I am racing in a 21K, I might be 10 minutes behind the first person, but then in a 5K, I might be 30 seconds just because that's how fast it is. So it does make sense what they've
For
done
sure.
there.
The good thing that they did about it too at the same time is, so first 23, second 21, third 19, fourth 17. So it goes down in twos. And then the
Mhm.
moment you hit 5 through 20, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, that's the amount of points you get. So essentially what Spartan's doing in the national point structure is they're giving the top 5 a little bit extra variance. So they're giving the top
Yeah.
5 that finish for that just a little bit extra for it. But anyways, we have those 3 races. You're gonna get ranked in a specific group. Now, if you finish top 20 in
Mhm.
this championship, which is the regional, excuse me, the
Yep.
national, you'll
Yep.
get called to go into the regional championship. So this is number 2. This is the next section of it. Okay, so top 20, you go into regional, which is it's called the Pan Am, and it's in Seattle, and it's in September. So it's the month basically after we finish the national series, before the year ends here, and we go to Seattle for both a 3K and a 21K championship. Now,
Mhm.
you just qualify for those. It's your choice of which one I believe that you want to race there.
Yeah.
I'm sure of how it works with respect to that. But then if you
Yeah,
finish
you
in the
don't,
top,
you can choose. You can choose in that. So
yeah,
if you finish 19th and you want to still run an age group, you can run in the age group in that
yes.
series.
Yes, yes, yes. So yeah, and that's exciting too. Like I'm going to go to
Mhm.
Seattle if I finish in the top 20 of this, which I'm hoping to. And I'm going to go to Seattle, and that's going to be like my big race as well too.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So that should be fun. And I've never raced. I've raced one time in the States, which was last year in California. Super sick. I shouldn't have done that, but I had to qualify. I had to get an elite qualification, so I had to go over there
Oh,
to get a top 15 because I hadn't raced an elite race yet, right? So I wouldn't have been able to go into the pro heat. So had to go over to
ah,
California after Deca World Championships. I was
yes, I
dying,
remember.
terrible. I felt so bad doing it. I was freezing, and I was in little short shorts too in California. And yeah, ended up getting a 6th and a 7th, and I was just like, "Oh my God, get me out of here and end my season right now because I am just dying. I'm
I'm
dead."
done. Yeah.
There was a lot of like flu and COVID, like stuff was going
Oh,
around. It was just like there was a bunch of it was just germy, and nobody wanted a piece of it. And
yeah.
yeah, anyways, I'm very happy to be in off season training right now. So
I know, me too. And the other thing too, just a little sidebar here, because it reminds me to get to preach about this, but this happens to me every season. I get sick around November or December, and it's because I've just not taken care of myself up until the end. So note to self and anybody out there, like take care of yourself during cold and flu season. That should be part of your training as well. But we'll do that as a whole
sure.
other podcast another time.
I mean, to be honest, it's a really good thing to bring up. And let me just put a little side
Mhm.
note. And I know that I get off on a tangent, and you're going to stop me too at the same time. I'm a big advocate of racing and racing during your season and utilizing your season as you should. For me, it was more so I had so many races stacked together that I just
You
didn't have
did.
time for my body to recover. I think this is what it was more than
Yeah.
anything, Jill. And
Hmm.
as much as it was the racing, it was the travel. Going to
Yes.
Greece, to Texas, to California. I
Yeah.
think all those flights again and again and again. My body, I'd get back on a Monday or Tuesday. I'd train some people, and then by Thursday or Friday, I was back on a plane again, driving to YYZ, driving over to Syracuse airport. Like it was
Yes.
just like different things. So my point being is that try your best, and this is like my little like plug right now for coaching. You try your best to separate your races as much as you can by 4 to 6 weeks, if possible. There, I know things still come up, but it makes a big difference to let your body recover, deload a little bit, and then increase
I
your
know.
progression into the
Note to
build.
Spartan for all of us athletes who like to do multiple different things. Just
Yeah,
remember that we're out here. We'd love it if maybe July would be fun to do a world something.
for sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so you're planning on that as your big A race for Spartan this year? Um,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
if you qualify there, there's a next one, which is
yeah,
actually Worlds.
yeah,
Now,
yeah. So go ahead. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off
no,
there.
yeah, I'm going to let you explain how you get into Worlds, and then I want to know if you would consider doing Worlds if you made it into the pro wave for that.
Yeah. So if you get top 50 in the regional, so if you go to Seattle and you get in the top 50 there, and obviously there's going to be a lot of competitors. So if you get top 50, you get invited to the World Championship in Abu Dhabi. That is the
Hmm.
beast course for the World Championships. So there's a couple different ones there, however, but we can go into further context thereafter with respect to like the Ultra World Championships, Trifecta World Champions. But the Beast in Abu Dhabi is your main World Championship event. I don't know. I don't know. I went to Greece and it was really, really good. Don't get me wrong. It
Hmm.
was a great experience there. I'll just be completely candid with you right now with respect to like how much it costs to travel that much and not feeling completely comfortable with like that climate.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. That's why I'm kind of making the Seattle one like my A race. It's almost like my world
See what
championship.
happens. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But we'll see. Yeah, exactly. We'll see where things align because I wasn't
Hmm.
even planning on going to Greece last year, and then I was like, "Okay, Connor, just go do it." And then I ended up doing really well, and
Yeah.
it was awesome, and it was
Yeah.
oh my gosh, was
Hmm.
it ever thought? And everyone was so damn fast. We are used to hills here, so anyone, and I
We
know
are.
Jonathan Bouchard, I know you might be listening to this. You are going to Greece, you train your speed, you train your rolling hills, and the best of your ability, train getting good without so much water because we here on a beast, we have like 11, 12, 13 water stations on a beast or
Hmm.
something like that, maybe 8, even 9 sometimes. They had like 4 in
Oh
Greece.
boy.
And you could fill your water up there and they
Yeah.
have cannons and such too, but like you take for granted how well we do it in Canada sometimes until you go
Hmm.
and you see somewhere else. It's nothing. It's not a stab against Greece or anything.
No, no.
It was just like it was a eye opener for me to be like, oh my goodness, like I am so dry right now at all
Yeah.
times. Like I need another water station. So yeah, that's your
Okay,
best bet.
so you need to have a little conversation with him before you go out, he goes out there, but we will have another how to help you do great at the World Trifecta
Yes,
Championship before that happens. But
yes,
I feel like that just happened.
I know.
Honestly, a lot of, like you said, all the championships are at the end of the year.
Mhm.
Yeah, so there's that. That's the basically the pathways to the Spartan World Championship. And then we've got some side ones in there as well that are still Spartan brands. You earn qualifications differently. With Tough Mudder, they've got the World Championship for Tough Mudder, and you would earn your qualification. You can do it the same route through Spartan, or you can do it through Tough Mudder as well. But I believe what they've always done in the past is you sign up and they just it's basically like a regular race. So the top 3 are your top 3, and then the rest are an age group. But then there was a way to pre-qualify to be like a pro and there was another word for it if you came top 10. So it's a little bit different. And then of course there's DECA and you qualify through times. And if you're interested in that, I'm sure we'll be talking about that again. And then
Mhm.
we also there's a Tough Mudder Championship coming up in in Arabia, I believe. which,
Yeah, because I know Isaac's
yeah,
going there too. Yeah.
and that one has a massive prize
Prize
purse,
purse.
massive. So
I think it's some
basically
age
it's
groups as well
bringing
too.
out some of the old, like some of the original OCR athletes. It's bringing all the big guns out. That would be one to go and give a try to. And it's an 8 hour, it's an infinity. That's one I actually want to try this year. I did
Okay.
the 12 hour last year. I'm planning on doing the world's toughest mutter, depending on where the DECA is. Yeah, that's kind of my goal race for this year. Also DECA. But
Yeah.
again, they'll probably be back-to-back weekends,
Yeah.
being the
Yeah.
way it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Tough Mudder's doing some interesting things too in terms of that as well.
Well, I want to say one thing right now, just because I just looked. I have this article up in front.
Good,
For
good.
you have the Ultra World Championship as well too, which is obviously 100K, and then you have World's Toughest Mudder Championship as well too. So it says all racers may earn a qualifying spot for the Ultra World Championship by finishing a Spartan Ultra as a competitor in the competitive or open category in the 2024 year. There's a limit of 500 spots available. So if you are interested in doing an Ultra World Championship, once you finish one, you will qualify for the Ultra World Championship. And if it's on your mind, it'll probably fill up relatively quick as well too.
Hmm.
So that's something. And then said a priority invitation will be sent to the 2023 Ultra finishers and World's Toughest Mudder finishers that do at least 35 miles, so they can secure their spot early for their championship races as well too. So it seems like it's more of a completion thing and a minimal standard. And once you kind of
Yeah.
finish that, then you'll get into that as well too. So yeah, just something to be aware of. There's a bunch of different championships going on. I feel like the biggest thing to talk about more than anything right now is that like your options are vast right now as to where you want to take
Yes.
things like 3K World Championships, and we have
Mhm.
100K World
I
Championships.
know
So
it's crazy.
it's crazy. Yeah,
And
yeah.
what's neat about World's Toughest Mudder is you can do as many as you can, as many laps, as many kilometers. And some of it's just crazy what people are doing.
Yeah.
And it's not what I will be doing, but I will be just moving until I can't move anymore. I was actually surprised. The 12 hours is fine. I can do things for 12 hours at a slow pace. I'm pretty built for, I think, endurance, even though
You're
I
you're
like
good. Yeah.
sprinting. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird. I've got both personalities, but I was thinking that the nighttime thing was going to really throw me off, but the energy at these races is just crazy. You will not fall asleep. You will be around people who are cheering you on. And it's every single championship that happens. Everything I've done with Spartan, Tough Mudder, DECA, it's all been the same people, maybe some different variations, but they all have the same personality. It's completely welcoming. Everybody's pumped. Everybody wants you to do well. And, it just goes from there. So,
So
and I
true.
know,
So
see,
true.
how many championships did you do last year?
My goodness. It was, I mean, it was just Greece and then it's like so trifecta World Championships and Deca World Championships. They were just back to back. So that was the hardest portion of it more than anything. But I
Yeah.
guess you could kind of call Blue Mountain a championship race just because it was the
Yeah.
race three of the national series as well too.
Hmm.
And that was right before Greece, the weekend before too,
It
right? So
really was.
back to back to back. Yeah.
And what a difference in climate. That was a cold weekend for us. And then you went to hot, hot Greece.
It was wild to transfer from one to the other, that's for sure. And that's probably also why like I kind of got sick during it as well too, was during that. So yeah, take care of your bodies. But one thing we have to bring up right now as well,
Mhm.
just as we're going off this whole thing, is a Deca, what's it called? A Deca Ultra? Is it an Ultra
Oh,
Deca?
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to explain it right now to the
Yeah,
viewers and
well,
talk
since
about it?
it's become my jam, I didn't really know that I was into ultras until last year. I'm still not really convinced that I'm into ultras. I just can do them, so I might
Yeah.
as well. But DECA introduced an ultra. So basically, it is your 10 DECA stations, and in between those stations, you do 500 meters worth of running to earn 5K with your 10 stations. But then you're going to repeat that until you've done 5 laps of it. So that is on the table. I'm going to go give that one a try. I'm already
Do
signed
it.
up for that one. So yeah, why not?
Oh, let's
Uh,
go.
and I think the day before is, oh no, that's another one. There's a teams championship too, but there is a regular
Where is
fit.
it? Where
I
where and
believe
when?
that one is in Pittsburgh or
Okay.
yeah, I should look it up while we're doing this. We did it last year. Oh, you were at it last year. The same venue. Was that Philly? Yeah, that was
Oh, it
Philly
was Philly.
actually.
It was
Yeah.
Philly.
So
So they're
mhm.
doing it in Philly. Okay.
Yeah, the
Sweet
second
venue.
day is going to be all like a team championship. So
Wait,
yeah,
wait, you got ultra teams or just teams in general?
just teams. So
Okay.
the ultra
Whoa.
championship for it's ultra and that one is going to be at Fort Wayne in July, and then this
Okay.
one's going to be the third week or fourth week of August, not sure off the top of my head. And that the first day is your regular DECA fit and the second day is teams. So we
Cool.
should bring a big
Cool.
huge Canadian group like we
Cool.
do and just do a bunch of teams.
The hybrid space in Canada is just growing so big, so wild right now, and it's so
Mhm.
good to see. Like again, like where we weren't the precipice of like bringing all this whole hybrid Deca Spartan thing like that happened primarily in the States, and like High Rocks is happening over in Europe. It's so nice to see it kind of just being pushed over into Canada now, and
Yeah.
Canadian athletes to be showing up right now. Like it's
Yes.
cool. It's awesome to see, and like yeah, we're just putting our names on the map. It's really it's just who
Yeah,
are these
and
Canadians? These
now that
Canadians.
you mentioned it, we should give you a little bit of a shout out. You did well at everything that you did this year. I'm not gonna lie, you'd never boast about it because I know it's you. You'll talk about it, but it's not the first thing you're gonna say. But you and your partner in one of the decas came fourth in the world. So that's
Third.
was it third?
Yeah,
Oh my
we
gosh.
podium. Yeah, yeah. Sorry,
There you go.
yeah. Now I gotta
Sorry
be
about
quiet.
that.
Yeah, come on, figure it out. Just kidding.
Even better. Like that's
Yeah, yeah,
crazy. And I
yeah.
know your partner was brand new to the sports.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
he's a beast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That guy, I was the funny story. If anyone ever like, hears about with Jamie, is that Jamie at one point was came for a workout. I happened to move over close to him, and I said, "Coming over for a workout." And I was just getting into Deca, and I said, "Let's go through this little half mini Deca thing." So we ended up going through it, and I said, "Okay, I'll run, and then you hop on a station. I'll hop on a station, you run, and we'll go back and forth." And the
Mhm.
salt bike was behind me. And I literally was running just like my recovery jog. And I said, okay, like do a 25-calorie salt bike would probably be like, I don't know, like 45 seconds to a minute. I knew he was a big guy. And I just
Yeah.
hear the thing go off and take off. And it beeped within a second. And I looked back and I said, how fast was that?
That's
And he's like 18 seconds. And I was like,
what's
whoa. I was like, I need to show you this sport. And that was like the beginning of him getting like into the world that is Deca.
yeah.
So yeah, his first year was awesome. Excited for year two for him. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
that's amazing. And I think, like you just said, with hybrid racing, but in general, I feel like the Spartan community, which includes Tough Mudder and hybrid, it's actually growing and it's thriving right now. So I would like to keep up the momentum and let's bring as many new competitors as we can this year, and or new racers as well.
For sure. And like, and on that note too, for anyone who's watching, like it really is the best thing about like DECA, anything oriented around like hybrid racing, Spartan as well too. I'm just gonna use DECA as the example, is that it really is for everybody, right? So when it comes into it, it's in its own essence, it really, if you are just trying to get into fitness and trying to increase your health, your overall like aerobic capacity, like DECA movements allow for you to do that and can be modified in different ways as well too, right? So I mean the scary thing, and I don't want to ever become a CrossFit smasher. That's not what I'm trying to do. I used to do CrossFit as well too, but it can be scary for some people, right? And
Hmm.
some moments people might feel like they're not equipped for. And with this whole hybrid scene coming up, it just gives you both sides of the story where you can go really competitive, or you can just go for like, I want to get some fun fitness with some friends. So I love it. I love it. It's changed my life for sure. And I love
Yeah.
the style of training, and anyone who I train out here, they love it as well too. So it's good.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love everyone who is bringing new people to everything we're doing. So, on that note, I think we've said it all in terms of Spartan competitive and the new changes that we're having. And hopefully you learned a little bit about the series that we're having. And of course, reach out to any one of us if you ever have questions about these things, and tell us where you're racing too in the
Yeah.
comments. Yeah,
Yes.
we want to know. We'll race with you.
Also, I was gonna say I'm gonna be at every Canada venue. So like if you ever want to reach out, you have any questions, or you want to tell me more about Kelowna, then yes, reach out, please.
Yes, yes, definitely do that. And go say hi to Connor at the races because yes, you have time for everybody, even when you're racing. This
Right.
guy gives me a high five in the middle of the race when he's in first
Always.
or second, and he's still like, oh, I'll just stop and say something over here, because always a coach, right?
My goal always is to see if I can find Jill somewhere on the race course at one point, and I always spot you somehow, and I'm always like, there she is. I'm like, okay, I get like this second burst of energy.
That's awesome. And I'm always like, I got to get faster. How, like,
You're a killer.
how far can I get before Connor gets to me? That's my whole thing. I'm like,
You're
I'm going to
such
go
a
really
killer.
fast this time. He'll never catch me. Oh, there he is.
You're almost like the most humble athlete of life too. Anyone who's watching this know that Jill is literally, any one of us as Spartan ambassadors always say, she is so much more well equipped than she ever gives herself credit for. So yeah, so you can be
Uh,
like Jill too. Yeah.
or at least let me pace behind you, something like that.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
This year is going to be a blast. I cannot wait
Yeah.
till May for Brimacombe. If you are not signed up, get signed up and come and see us, and let's do this thing.
Sweet. It's gonna be sweet.